All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on our Facebook Live, on 24 Plus, on YouTube. We've got several different ways you can be watching. Hopefully you are watching from home, staying warm this evening. We do have snow on the way. It's already getting started across parts of the Mid-South, and if you are watching us on Facebook, I'll say this probably a couple more times, let me know where you're watching from, give me your city, and we'll talk about where we're seeing some of that heavy snow expected and how much snow you're expected to see in the next couple of hours tonight. But here's a look at our satellite and radar and the closer view here around Memphis proper. Across the area into Arkansas, down I-40, we've got some heavier snowfall already starting this evening. Back towards Little Rock, we've had that purple shade there, the mix of snow, ice, maybe some rain mixing in there as well. A couple of different things have been happening here in Memphis as well. Excuse me. Excuse me. We've seen a lot of that snow on radar, but when you zoom in, we've actually had a little bit of difficulty parsing out what the actual precipitation is at the surface, because it's starting to melt in just a very, very thin layer of the atmosphere, and it doesn't look like it's showing up here, which is good. Maybe that is indicating that it's actually getting back to all snow here, but I'm going to change the elevation of this tilt. And yeah, that's what it shows. Okay, so you see that little concentric ring structure around the radar site. This is usually our debris detector for tornadoes, but it can also tell us whether the shape of particles that are falling through the atmosphere. And this is a structure known as a bright band or a melting layer. So this is actually where the snow, if I get my marker tool here, out here, this is higher than closer to the center of the radar. So as the radar goes out, it goes out at an angle and it goes up and up and up, higher and higher into the atmosphere. And so somewhere in that height, it's finding a layer where it's going from completely frozen and consistent, where it says the rain only, that's more of a consistent size rather than just rain. So consistent size here, consistent size lower, but somewhere in the middle, there's inconsistency. And that is where we see the melting layer as these little hydrometeors, we call them, snowflakes or raindrops, where they're actually melting from snow into rain. So as it's falling, getting lower and lower, that's that transition zone. So that's why we've got sort of this rainy, sleety mess in Memphis right now. The difficulty is that it's actually showing up on this radar as only snow. So that's one thing that's difficult to represent, is when we're transitioning from snow to rain. So we're seeing sort of that mixed precip, and we've actually picked up a bit of a glaze of ice already here in the Memphis area, especially on elevated surfaces. So if you're going out this evening, you're going to have to scrape off your windshield, because we've had just a little glaze of ice that has accumulated out there, this area. Now, over the last couple of hours, we've seen some rain. I'm going to back it up a few more hours here. We've seen some rain across North Mississippi. Just that early first push of moisture there, but off towards the north, we've seen completely snow around this area over the last hour. Places like Brownsville, Maury City, Atoka, Covington have seen decent amount of snow already falling in your area, but it's not quite heavy accumulation just yet. We've got this band of some heavy precip, though, out towards the west. I'm going to get back to that debris detector again to detect where we're seeing that transition, and it looks like out between Hazen and Forest City, that's also got that brighter band structure, so that's likely switching over from snow to rain. You can see just on the classic radar picture some pretty heavy reflections there. That's probably where it's whenever a snowflake falls to the radar, it looks like as it's melting, it's got little beads of water growing, so it looks like a very large raindrop rather than just a tiny raindrop or a small snowflake. So that's what we're seeing on radar. One of my favorite things to look at whenever we have a snowstorm coming through, but it does mean it's going to take away from our snow totals. Of course, anything that doesn't fall as a snowflake takes away from our final total. But let's look through the next couple hours here. I want to look back at our current conditions, because this model says it should be 29 degrees right now here in Memphis. And if we look at the current conditions, It is 29, 41 to Oxford in our south, 23 up towards Dyersburg. So I want to look back, see how close this is verifying. Okay, so mid-20s there, just a couple degrees warmer to the north and a little cooler to the south. So it's got a close approximation, but also notice that we've got a bit of that pink showing up very near the I-40 corridor. So that's telling us that we've got that rain-snow transition and a little bit of freezing drizzle around the area as well. So as we go over the next couple of hours, we're going to see that rain-snow transition line pushing south because we've got that northeast wind continuing to supply cold air. And the winds in the mid-levels are bringing in the warm air. Eventually, this whole system pushes out that warm air and will start to transition back over to all snow for everybody. I think here in Memphis will probably be all snow by 10 o'clock, and we'll start to see all snow down towards Clarksdale and Oxford by around midnight tonight. So that's where we're looking at a chance for some freezing drizzle, and that's really going to eat into our totals to the south. But as we get to 3 a.m., we're starting to see the back edge of this system pushing in. We're still seeing some pockets of some heavy snowfall, and we'll see a little bit of some lingering moisture on the very tail end of this. So around 5 a.m., we'll still have some flurries around the area. That last little burst of snow, and then we're done really by around daybreak. We're going to see everything pretty much done here. So tomorrow it's going to be cold. We're not getting out of the 20s for highs. That's possibly going to be putting us into record cold territory, especially as we go into Thursday. Here's our snow totals. This is the latest update that we had from this afternoon. I haven't adjusted it from there because once it starts snowing, I lock in it. I don't change the forecast just to not hedge any bets. But you know, it looks like we're going to get around 1 to 3 if we keep up with that melting layer that's transitioning from snow to that freezing drizzle. It's going to start to favor more to the low side. So with 1 inch, 1.5 inches. If we can get it to switch over to snow quickly, that'll push us maybe more close to 3 inches. But at this point in the forecast, what I made this afternoon, I was expecting us to already be switched over to snow. So that's why I was still on that 3 inch. So I might even modify this now to 1 to 2 inches of snowfall for Memphis. It's always difficult pinning down where that warm nose of the atmosphere, just that little bit of warm air, and you know, it could only be a couple hundred feet at a mile up, and that's what is causing this to switch from snow to rain. It really, really matters, and it can be 33 degrees. It can be 32.5 degrees, and that eats away our totals. So it's fun for forecasting purposes. It is a pain, but it's fun. The bad side of it, though, what's not fun is that we are getting that glaze of ice, and this model's not really representing it well because it's pushing that ice farther south. So I think Memphis will still see a bit of a glaze, so expanding that pink up a little bit farther to the north. Now, these numbers all say 0, but just the quirk of how the graphic works, it rounds to the nearest 10th inch, but it doesn't represent hundredths of an inch. And hundredths of an inch is where we were talking about a glaze of ice, and it looks like we're going to see that across much of our southern viewing area. That doesn't really impact our power outage potential, so that's one good side whenever we just have a glaze, but it can make it a little bit slick, especially if you're crossing over a bridge in your car. That's where it can accumulate a little bit more ice. So if you're crossing bridges tonight, be very, very cautious there across northern Mississippi and into southeastern Arkansas. Tonight, we're dropping back to around 20 inches. 20, goodness, not that much. We're dropping back to 20 degrees. Get my units right there. But teens to the north, 20s, low 20s to the south. Tomorrow afternoon, we're all staying below freezing. That's not the only day we're below freezing. We're actually going to be below freezing all the way to Friday. We might sneak in to 33. Might. Thing is, we're going to drop right back below freezing. So we've got several days of very, very cold, intensely cold temperatures. We do have a cold weather advisory out across our entire viewing area for the extremely cold wind chills that are coming in. So tonight through around 9 a.m. tomorrow, cold weather advisories in effect, and then there's a second one behind that for Wednesday night into Thursday morning. I would not be shocked to see another one reissued for Friday morning. Thing is, the winds are going to be a little backed off as we go into Friday, so that'll be good. But let's take a look at those current temperatures once again. And then we'll look at the wind chill, because the wind chill is why we have these cold weather advisories out. So right now it's 29 degrees in Memphis. With the wind that's coming in, it feels like it's 17. Whenever we talk about feels like temperature or wind chill or heat index for that matter, it's a calculation of what this feels like to your body, how your body actually reacts to the weather. So it's a really complicated formula. I have never memorized it, but basically, whenever you're just sitting here, as we are exothermic beings, we create our own heat. Lizards and reptiles, they must require heat from the environment to keep their body temperature up. But we create our own heat, and we create this insulating layer of slightly warmer air around our body. Whenever you have a wind chill, that wind comes through and pushes that insulating layer off, so you're exposed to the actual temperature. And when you continue to have that wind continue to blow off that little layer of warmer air around you, that's what the wind chill is. It's cooling your body much faster as you're radiating your heat out of your body. And that's where we talk about hypothermia coming in. Because you're not able to maintain your temperature in these colder and colder temperatures for the wind chill, that's where it becomes more dangerous to be outside for an extended period of time. We're looking at single digits out there tomorrow morning. So this kind of wind chill, you're fine in. Just make sure that you're bundled up, you have gloves on, you've got mittens, maybe you put a scarf around your face if you're going to be out there for 20 minutes or more. But you'll be okay. You'll just be pretty cold. Where we get below zero, that's when we start to talk about if you're out there for 20, 30 minutes or more, that's where frostbite can begin to set in. You really have to get deep, deep colds down, like I think it's around 20 degrees below zero for the wind chill for frostbite to set in within like 5 minutes. So it's not going to be something you go out to your car and you get frostbite right away. You'll make it. Just turn that heater on and warm yourself back up. But this is for anyone who's going to be out there for an extended period of time. If you have to be outside, make sure that you are bundled up. Bring hand warmers with you. Just put those in your gloves. Put one in your breast pocket as well. That can heat your heart up, heat your blood up, and just keep that circulation going. A lot of different ways to keep yourself warm. Got a couple of people, Gwen and Kyra, in the comments here on Facebook. Hey, if you're watching us here on Facebook, pop where you're down. Pop in the chat where you are watching from, and we'll go back over that snowfall forecast here in just a bit. My earpiece came unplugged here. Give me 1 second. We've got a bunch of that cold air starting to sink in overnight tonight. The temperature has changed a bit in the last 24 hours. We've dropped around 10 degrees or so, and we're going to continue to drop the next couple of mornings here. We're a little bit warmer across northern Mississippi, though. I want to show you an interesting thing. I haven't updated this, so some cities might have dropped off or been added, but I put this together last night, and it's close enough. These are all record temperatures we could see as we go into Thursday. So stay with me for a bit. We've got record cold high temperatures. So you have a minimum temperature of the day and a maximum temperature of the day. This is going to be the record coldest maximum temperature ever here in Memphis. We're looking at temperatures in the mid-20s for our highs. We've never been that cold for an afternoon high. And then as we go into Friday morning, your normal thought of what a record low is, the record low minimum, we're also going to be setting a record low minimum on Friday morning. The current forecast I have for 12 degrees is 3 degrees below the record, which was 15. So it's going to be very cold. If we look at the almanac for the day today, we got up to 41, a couple degrees off from my forecast, so I'll beat myself up. Actually, no, yesterday I had 40 degrees, so only one. Try and keep our certified most accurate here, so always try and get it right on the nose. But it's better than what I've had the last couple of days. I had a couple of times last week. I think it was off by 2 degrees 3 days in a row. So that was irritating. But it's the point that I'm showing you here is our record highs right now are in the 70s. Our record lows are fluctuating, jumping around between the single digits and the teens. And so that's what we're going to be setting up for Friday is some really, really cold temperatures. So that low this morning of, if you were outside this morning, it was 28 degrees. That's going to be warmer than our high later on this week. Of course, Wednesday, high of 26. Thursday, high of 24. We're not back above freezing until Friday for a brief moment, and then really for Saturday. Kyra, watching from East Memphis, curious how it's looking in Collierville. So Collierville is going to be pretty close to the same with Memphis. One caveat and why we have these ranges is that you can have just a pocket of snow that's a little bit heavier in one spot and it snows itself out and then it drops off for the next town over. So that can lead to a little bit of uncertainty with the forecast. But I would say for the Collierville area right there, these labels aren't tied to the map, but Memphis right there within that 1 to 2 to 2 to 4 range switch over. It's likely what we're talking about for Collierville and for the Germantown area. We'll likely see about 1 to 3 inches. Again, if we switch over to snow earlier, we'll add more to our snow total. If we delay and we stick with sleet, or if we continue with the freezing rain, that's going to lead to a reduction of that snow total for us. So We've been refining this over the last couple of days, and so we're happy with this. I'll show you one model here. Models are not forecasts. Keep that in mind. A model was showing that we could get 2 to 4 inches here in Memphis, but I'm thinking that this is underestimating the freezing drizzle that we've got around the area and the sleet potential. So that's why I've kept it down to around 1 to 3. I'll tell you, yesterday, this was showing around 4 to 6 inches for us. And it does have that higher bias. So again, 2 to 4, take an inch off, 1 to 3. I think that's about where we're looking at. But one thing that I really wanted to show you is the gaps that you've got here. We've got a couple bands of heavier snowfall. Covington at 4 to 6, Dyersburg at 2 to 4, but just north of there is another band of 4 to 6 inches. So it's going to be very localized. So it's not necessarily the lowest to the south, the highest to the north. There's going to be some pockets of uncertainty and of some higher totals there. I saw a quick comment in there of someone asking what the roads are going to be like tomorrow. So tomorrow the roads are going to be very slick, especially where we've had some more of that freezing drizzle. Again, with this map, we've seen a little bit of freezing drizzle here in Memphis already. So scoot it a little farther to the north. We'll likely see a glaze of ice underneath that snow. And the glaze really only sticks to places that are elevated. So think the flyover might be very tricky to drive over tomorrow with that little bit of ice, especially tonight as we're getting started. The reason why we have bridges freezing over before the road surface is because you've got that elevated surface, and around it, similar to what we were talking about, that insulating layer of your skin, around it, all of the cold air can circulate around the bridge and it drops its temperature, versus on the ground, it's just right there at the surface and it can only get rid of the heat on one side versus all sides of a bridge. So you'll have that accumulation of ice a lot faster on a bridge than on the surface. So going from the road, there's no ice, to quickly, it's a very slick and dangerous situation on a bridge. Be very, very cautious. I'm most concerned about the bridges like the flyover now. We have that freezing drizzle. Chanel asking the roads in East Memphis tomorrow. Yeah, we'll likely see some accumulation of snow on the road surfaces. But again, you can drive through snow. You just need to reduce your speed. I always do a rule of thumb of drive half the speed limit. But again, you don't have to drive just at a crawl. You can pick up a little bit of momentum, but always be careful. Don't overcorrect whenever you, if you do slide. Just allow it to slide. ease your foot off the gas. You don't want to slam on the brake because that will lock your tires and you'll definitely spin out. Again, if you aren't comfortable driving in the snow, just wait until the afternoon. The brave souls out there will start to clear a little bit more of the paths. And then over a couple of days, things should begin to get a little bit better. Again, we're not going to be getting back above freezing until maybe Friday. And one of the things is it's not necessarily that we have to get above freezing. We just got to get some sun out. And Thursday we'll have a little bit of sun, and the asphalt is dark, of course, so it's going to absorb a little more heat than the air. So the asphalt road temperature will get closer to freezing, and then we'll start to see more melting on Friday as well. And then we should be in the clear through the weekend. One nice thing, we'll end it here. We are actually starting to warm up into next week. We're getting into the 50s quickly and then the 60s after that. We're going to be back above average. I want to show you the temperature departure from average. We're about 30 to 35 degrees below normal here Wednesday and Thursday for our highs. But then next week we're back above normal and we're back 10 degrees above normal. So we haven't really called winter over just yet. Meteorological winter does end once we get into March, but we could still see some cold bursts. Of course, if you're a gardener, you don't want to be planting just yet with this this warm spell that we've got coming up next week, because we can still see frosts into early March. I'm trying to remember, I think it's March 5th is average last frost date for Memphis. I'll have to look that back up. I'll mention that tonight at 9 and 10 on CW30 and ABC 24. So with that, not seeing any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I've got about a half hour to get ready for my show at 9 tonight. We're going to be doing some extended coverage on air as well, just some intermittent hourly cut-ins right at the top of each hour overnight. Trevor Burchett's coming in at 1. I'll have that last cut-in at 1 o'clock tonight. And then by noon tomorrow, everything will be done. We're not going to be seeing any more any more falling precipitation by that time. One last check of the radar, then we'll head things off for now. So it looks like the radar's starting to pick up a little bit of that purple shade just right there around the airport. That's probably the algorithm for the radar here picking up that the airport reporting station has said that there's a mix of precip coming down. So it's starting to integrate that into the algorithm. Like we were saying with that debris detector tool. Let me switch back over and get that angle up higher. Yeah, right there where the airport is, we've got that band of inconsistent sizes, so the lower correlation. So that's why we're seeing a bit of that freezing drizzle here around the Memphis area. So that's going to take over for the next couple of hours tonight until we really get that warm nose pushed out. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I appreciate Judy Black for helping head off the digital side of this. I'm meteorologist Kit Thomas. We'll see you.